Well, the winter meetings are here. The rumors are flying about possibly trading Luis Arraez. DeGrom's gone to Texas. Verlander's gone to New York. What's going to happen next? Let's go. This week, the winter meetings kicked off, and we've already seen quite a bit of action. Rumors flying around here and there. Friday, we saw the best pitcher in the league, Jacob DeGrom, sign a 5-year deal averaging $37.5 million a year. Monday, after missing out on DeGrom, the Mets go and get Verlander on a 2-year, $86 million deal. And then one of the 4 big shortstops falls off the board. Trey Turner is a Philly for the next 11 years at $300 million. What are you guys thinking about all this?
Oh man, 11 years is a long time.
Yeah, he's gonna be there till he's 40, man. That's
yeah.
I feel like, just speaking to the Trey Turner thing, by the time he's like 35, 40 years old, I feel like his speed's gonna go away. That's what would concern me if the Twins had signed him that long, because that's what he's good at. Is his speed. He's got some pop, but not as much as some guys. So
when guys sign those kind of deals, like, I've always kind of assumed it must be like the team knows they're not going to be playing well for 11 years, but it's like that's how you get them there, right? Like, that's kind of what I assume, but
I would think so. I think they're hoping that they're getting a bigger value now than they're going to get later on, because he has a no-trade clause too, so they can't do anything unless they're that bad and he wants out,
Right.
Yeah, but now he's back with Bryce Harper.
Him and Bryce are going to be haunting Nats fans for the next decade, so that's going to be an interesting story. Yeah. But how do you feel this affects the Twins' chances on Correa? Do you think it helps them or more hurts them?
I don't know. Probably a little bit of both. Like, on one hand, there's one less team in the market for a shortstop, but on the other hand, the other shortstops become more valuable, and so I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but it looks like things are heading in an okay direction with the Twins and Correa, right? They're meeting this week, apparently.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that they're also meeting with Rendon and Bogarts because they all have the same agent, obviously, so it makes it easy. So it's hard to say if they're actually meeting with him just to meet with Correa or if they're just trying to get a lay of the land. But as far as Trey Turner affecting Correa, I think the bigger deal out of it is that it's now come out that the Padres offered even more to Trey Turner, and he turned it down and went to Philly. So that makes me think the Padres are going to go, all right, well, let's go all in on either Xander Bogaerts or Correa. I mean, obviously there's Dansby Swanson, but I don't think they're going to go after him. So I think, if anything, it hurts the chances of the Twins landing Correa, because Philly was one place, they needed a shortstop, but I thought they were going to maybe just find a way to fill a gap this year. And now you still have the Cubs who need a shortstop. You still have now clearly the Padres want a shortstop, and they want to move Tatis out in the outfield. And obviously the Red Sox have to figure something out. So Diamondbacks are in that talk. I don't know. I think it limits our options with Correa and probably pushes him to go, hey, I need to get more than $300 million. And do we really want to spend more than $300 million? I don't know.
I would love to, but I don't think anyone's going to in the Twins organization.
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was just going to say the most we've ever spent was Correa. We gave him technically like 100 and some thousand, other than Joe Mauer's 183 million. Or sorry, I meant 100 million last year to Correa, but he only took 34 of it. But we gave 183 million to Joe Mauer, so you would have to take that and double it to get Correa on your team, and he's not homegrown, local St. Paul talent. So I don't know if I can see them doing that, but maybe maybe the change from Jim Pohlad to Joe Pohlad makes a difference too. I have no idea.
Yeah, and kind of with that Joe Mauer thing, I mean, when was that, 2010, 11?
Yeah, that sounds about right, 2009, 10, somewhere in that range.
The size of player salaries has just changed so much over the past 10 years that, like, I feel like that's a tough comparison to what a guy is going to be able to get now. But
that's true.
I mean, at the time it was like a mega contract, I remember.
Oh,
right. Like, it was huge. And then, like, I think wasn't the A-Rod deal like right after that, like the second A-Rod deal or something. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
being like the biggest contract I had ever heard of.
Yeah, and
And
A-Rod, I think, topped his own contract, which is even crazy.
yeah,
With
yeah.
the-
And I remember Mauer was like the highest paid like player average annual salary wise for like a few years, I think.
yeah,
Um, Shout out to Joe Mauer, by the way. Love that guy. What a
Huge Joe
legend.
Mauer fans.
Yeah.
100%.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
I don't
Joe,
know. It's a lot of money.
well, it is. Whichever way you cut it, it's going to be a lot of money. But if we want to go get one of those elite shortstops, we're going to have to go out and spend. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Right. Well, to get better, like in general, like just generally as a baseball
Right.
team, if we want to like progress into a different tier, we have to spend more money. And everybody knows that, I feel like. Everybody in baseball kind of knows that. Like you see what the Padres are doing. I think at some point the fan pressure is just going to get like too much for these owners to keep saying like, "Oh, we only have $30 million to spend this year," like with the A's or whatever. You just can't have that. Like, you're not going to be a successful team. You might as well be a minor league team at that point.
yeah,
Yeah, got to spend to win. Got to make tough decisions to win. And there's rumblings going around that Luis Arraez is in trade talks for a possible starting pitcher. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
yeah. I right at surface level, as soon as you hear it, as soon as I saw, I think it was Dan Hayes that posted it. It's like you hear that and you go, okay, why would they do that? Every fan is going to be upset. I don't like it. But then you kind of think about it a bit more, and some things start to make a bit more sense to you. I don't know what you think, Ellery.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't like. I love Luis Arraez. He's awesome. He's really fun to watch on a day-to-day basis. Like, ideally, you want to keep that guy around, but I don't think he is like top, three most valuable pieces on our roster or anything like that. I like his game a lot, but it's not really it's not really built to help your team win like that much. Like, he's fun to watch, but he doesn't. I don't think he impacts the game. I don't think he impacted their season more last year than Buxton did, even though Buxton played way less. Like, it's hard for me to really see a guy who isn't hitting for power in the modern day game to see him as like somebody we can't trade, like we have to hang on to, especially if there's starting pitching involved, because we need that more than we need a first baseman that can hit for average.
Right, and we were just saying like how we don't want to necessarily spend 300 million maybe on somebody. If you go and take somebody with a value of Luis Arraez, that the whole league values him, fans love him no matter what team you're talking about. He's my favorite player to watch play baseball when he's in the batter's box. But defensively, he's not the guy defensively that you'd want out there every single day. He has been, but I don't think his value is going to get much higher. So if you're trying to not spend 300 million and get locked into those long-term contracts, and you want to get somebody younger and not some of these 28, 29, 30-year-old players that are out there, you're going to have to trade some young piece talent to go get another young piece talent. So as much as I love Luis Arraez, I kind of get it. And I think the bigger question is, why would they let this get public? Like, this has to be intentional. I can't imagine Dan Hayes like taking this and trying to, he's not going to try to upset anybody by leaking something that they don't want leaked out there. He obviously has a source that told him like, yeah, you're good to go. Go ahead and throw this out there. Do you guys think? I don't know.
Yeah, I assume that's what it is. I mean, I always assume that's what it is when like you hear one of these types of leaks. I would imagine it would be to like try to like get a market for him going. I don't really understand the ins and outs of like how that would actually help
Yeah.
that, but I would assume that's what it is. Like, you put it out there hoping like some teams try to get in on it then or something, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't seem very like kind to the player, obviously, but I guess that's business.
Yeah. It's always hard talking about trades because it's like it's somebody's livelihood. But he is headed into free agency next year. They avoided arbitration this year. They got him paid. I think he's making $2.5 million next year. So it's like, if he wants to really get a long-term deal, and if the Twins don't see it long-term, in 2024 he's a free agent, I guess his value is as high as it might ever get right now. I don't see him necessarily hitting, unless he can go out there and hit 300 and hit 35 home runs, then obviously his value is a lot higher, but I don't think that's necessarily going to happen.
Right. I mean, maybe like if he could get in shape and become a better defender, that would help too.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I don't see happening. So
Yeah, I think they leaked it to soften the blow. That's the only thing I can think of, is to give all of us a chance on these podcasts or fans out there to text each other and say, hey, what do you think? And that one person in the group to say, hey, it might make sense, before just like stunning
Right.
everyone with a trade of Luis Arraez and everyone just going, screw the Twins, and not looking at any more posts. That's my thought.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, like you don't trade him and you just get starting pitching another way, but that's like easier said than done, I guess.
Yeah.
He's definitely a guy that like every team in the league would want for at least some role. Like there's no team in the league where is not playing a significant portion of the season for them. So I think like obviously he's a valuable player, and I like there's definitely prospects you could trade. If it's about avoiding paying him, then it's so dumb. But hopefully it's not about that.
Is there any specific starting pitchers you guys want to see?
Corbin Burns.
Yeah,
And
that'd be
end
cool.
of list. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to necessarily do them. It seems like the Brewers are maybe cutting payroll to try to get Corbin Burns paid and Woodruff paid. But if they
Right.
decide they want to fully rebuild, they may ship away Burns, or maybe even Woodruff. I'd be okay maybe with him too, or a Zach Gallen wouldn't be bad. I've heard him in trade talks. And then obviously the Marlins have some pretty good young pitching that they could trade. But if you're doing a straight up trade, Luis Arraez for like a Pablo Lopez, I like Pablo Lopez. I've met Pablo Lopez, actually. I've interviewed him. But as a trade candidate for Luis Arraez, that's not a straight up good trade for us. You got to get like an Edward Cabrera, I would say, maybe, because he could be around longer. He's got more contract left. A lot of potential.
Yeah, I do think that would be like hard to swing. Like I feel like people would. I just feel like you need to throw in prospects, like more prospects in there with Luis Arraez.
Oh, for sure.
For like
Especially if
for
you're
like
getting Corbin
most
Burns.
right. Well, definitely Corbin Burns, like 100%. I'd be surprised if they traded Corbin Burns. That'd be a shock.
Yeah.
So moving along to, a pitcher's best friend, talking about some catchers here. Twins only have Ryan Jeffers on the roster, and I mean, it's kind of clear they need to make a move for one. Do you think this is coming via trade or via free agency?
Kind of. I mean, first of all, maybe Joe Mauer will come back. That would be nice. Running back for one more time, one last dance. But if not that, then yeah, I think it'll probably be like a trade for like a mid-tier, low-level. Somebody like Gary Sanchez, maybe somebody who can hit some bombs, or I don't know, just somebody who won't get you too excited, but you'll be like, hey, I know that guy. Like I saw him play in the playoffs once.
Yeah. Yeah. I doubt they bring back Gary Sanchez. I feel like they would have re-signed him if they were gonna, because they had the opportunity, I think. So they kind of let that slide. But if they're gonna go get someone from free agency, then you're looking at more veteran guys. You're looking at guys like Austin Hedges, I think, is out there, Christian Vasquez, some of those guys who have been around, like you were saying, Ellery, like they've been there and done that. But if you want to get somebody who's younger and maybe more agile with a little more pop in his bat, you got to go and look at Sean Murphy in Oakland, or I know Toronto's got a few extra catchers too. I think what they've got, Alejandro Kirk, I don't think they would deal him, but I would think that Danny Jansen would be on the market. And he was at one point I think he was a top 25 prospect in the MLB, at least a top 5 catcher prospect. So he hasn't been that great offensively, but as a defensive catcher, he's pretty solid. So it wouldn't shock me to go get Danny Jansen. And we know they like to trade with the Blue Jays. They sent Barrios there, so they've done some movement before. So we'll see.
So are we writing off Twins trading for Adley Rutschman? That's not happening?
Write that off.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that will not happen. They would have to throw in Buxton, Arraez, and Joe Ryan.
Okay.
And then maybe they would consider.
Well, that's about all we got for winter meetings until more news comes out. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all our social medias, Hot Dish Sports. Guys, do you have anything we missed? Anything you want to add?
I think the only other thing that I was thinking of is be prepared. We're going to trade a lefty outfielder. I can't imagine they're all going to be in our roster. One of them's going to get traded, if not this week, before the end of the new year, I think, because we've got, Kepler, Larnach, Keeleroff. We've got another prospect. I think it's one of our top 5 prospects who's a lefty outfielder as well, so he might go because you can only have so many corner lefty outfielders. So I would say one of those guys are going to go soon, and hopefully it's Kepler, but I think his value is the lowest compared to the rest.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just I just want to ask Joe Polad, just bring Joe Mauer back, man. We all want it. JM7, we need it.
And sign us a starting pitcher.
Yeah, and do that too. Either way, one of those two things.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, follow us on all our socials. Have a good one. Peace.